like to give the floor to Lorisa Andreoli and Gianluca Drago. They are both from the University of Padua. We are working together for a long time now, and it's nice co-working with you. And you will talk about a fair coevolution of Phaidra at the University of Padua. Please. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning again, and I share screen. A moment. Okay. So we go. Today we are celebrating the 10 years of Phaidra in Padua. A fair coevolution of Phaidra at the University of Padua. Phaidra is, just a moment. Okay. Phaidra is the platform adopted by the University of Padua for long-term preservation and online dissemination of its digitized cultural heritage. It currently hosts 419,000 digital objects within the GLAM framework. Ancient books, manuscripts, photographs, didactic wall charts, maps, museum objects, archival material, parchments. At Padova, it is just one of the repositories adopted. Academic production, thesis, and research data use their own dedicated repositories. Phaidra can be reached at phaidra.cab.unipd.it. The reason behind a choice. After a careful analysis of the requirements for an archiving system, in 2010, the University of Padova adopted the platform developed by the University of Vienna. It presents a solid underlying technology in a domain informed by the openness of the code. It has allowed to take part in European collaboration. These 10 years of continuous collaboration with the University of Vienna and the other partners has confirmed that a wise choice was made. The organizational effort to respond effectively to the new system complexities, it has been necessary to create an articulated organizational infrastructure involving various professional profiles. Under the coordination of a project manager, librarians are involved in the digitization workflow, in metadata issues, in contacting and supporting the designated community. The IT staff is involved in infrastructure management, software development, and web design. An external legal counsel is consulted on issues pertaining to the terms of use, licenses, and copyright. Such an organization involves the creation of coordination tables, working groups, and the management of a training and help service. Moreover, it involves the drafting of procedures, guidelines, and manuals to support both digitization and archiving. From the criteria to be followed for a good digitization, to the choice of file formats suitable for long-term preservation, up to the metadata schemas and archiving in Phaidra. Most of the materials produced are freely accessible online, usually available also in English. beyond the university libraries. At a regional level, in addition to libraries, archives and museums also converge in Phaidra. Collaborations required to develop data flow models pertaining to different domains, with the aim of procuring rich and comprehensive metadata for each one. Regarding to archives, I recall Elena Canadelli presentation. And regarding to museums, I recall Isabella Colpo presentation. Over the course of this decade, the community has expanded beyond the University of Padova, with the participation of the universities Ca' Foscari and the UAV of Venice, the University of Bologna, as well as other institutions distributed throughout the territory. Padova-Vienna Coevolution in action. At an international level, the cooperation between Padova and Vienna takes place through a dense exchange of projects and experiences, including formal and informal occasions. Phaidra annual meeting, the place for reporting on the state of work by Phaidra partners, for planning and for setting future guidelines. Technical meetings, the place for discussion on the technical solutions, for the experimentation of new formulas, and for the operative implementation of new tools. Erasmus staff mobility for training. It is within this cooperation that Phaidra manages to adapt to an ever-changing digital environment. Hence, the adoption of architectural and technical solutions to the usability of the platform, while facilitating the dissemination of its content. For instance, through sharing the development of open source code, API, IEEE image server, but also through the adoption of ecosystem applications, Triple Store, vocabulary server, and RDF data model. Repository certification as a milestone for Phaidra. In 2019, Phaidra at the University of Padova obtains the Core Trust Seal certification for trustworthy data repositories. A trustworthy data repository mission is to provide reliable long-term access to digital resources to its designated community. Sustainability, data security, and preservation are guaranteed over time. For Phaidra, the designated community consists of faculty, staff, and students of the University of Padova interested in digitized cultural heritage, for education, the first mission, and research, the second mission. In addition, Phaidra is part of the so-called third mission, that is, the set of activities with which university can interact with society in a constant dialogue between the university and citizens. What is CTS? CTS is a certification scheme based on 16 mandatory requirements, divided in 4 sections: background information, organizational infrastructure, digital object management, and technology. A self-certification assessed by CTS board, the first step in a global framework of repository certification, which includes 3 steps: basic level of certification, extended level of certification and formal level of certification. Phaidra certification process is in-depth analysis of the 16 requirements, submission of self-assessment to the CTS board, double review by the CTS board, implementation of the feature to gain the compliance with all requirements, final review, and certification seal. Here we have our 10 years timeline, 2010 to 2020. So 2008, birth of Phaidra in Vienna. 2010, partnership Padova-Vienna. 2012-2013, collections in Europeana by means of the European project Linked Heritage. 2013-2015, Museum Libraries Joint Project. 2014, University of Padua digitization projects, website redesign, Ca' Foscari University joins Phaidra, UAV University joins Phaidra. 2016, Phaidra joins COIR. 2019, University of Bologna joins Phaidra. Collections in Internet Archive, Quarter Seal certification. 2020, collections in Cultura Italia and in Europeana by means of Cultura Italia as Europeana trusted aggregator. Fair is Fair European project. So this is our 10 years. And I thank you for your attention. And Luca, it's up to you.
All right. Thank you, Lorisa. I'll take it from here. And in this second part, I will look into the recent involvement of Phaidra Padova into the first fair European Union project. An involvement that had been made possible by the certification of the repository. Just a moment that I share the slides. Sorry. Hola. Our first fair, fostering fair data practices in Europe, is a European Union's Horizon 2020 project and is part of the EOS project ecosystem. It is a 3-year-long project that started in 2019. It involves 22 partners from 8 member states. The project aims to supply solutions for the use of the fair data principles, which means findability, accessibility, interoperability, reusability. Throughout the research data lifecycle, fostering fair data culture and the uptake of good practices in make data fair. In this image, you can see a brief overview of First Fair project. These are the main outputs. There are 4 main topics: data practices, data policy, certification, training, education, and support, subdivided in 7 working packages. Phaidra is involved as a tester repository in working package 2, Fair Practices, Semantics, Interoperability, and services, and as a pilot repository in Working Package 4, Fair Data Assessment pilots. Concerning FAIRsphere Working Package 2, its main purpose is to support the semantic interoperability, producing recommendations on the use of semantics in FAIR context, and to implement and develop guidelines for services, including software to develop FAIR functionalities. Phaidra is currently involved in testing FAIR Data Point, a tool to allow repositories, both FAIR and not, to share the catalog of their datasets in a fair manner, improving discoverability and facilitating machine actionability of data and metadata in repositories. Briefly, FAIR Data Point is a domain-agnostic metadata repository. It is based on the data catalog ontology by W3C, which enables repositories to publish their catalog, datasets, and distributions. Phaidra is currently doing tests on FAIR Data Point using a sample of its RDF data model applied to a cultural heritage dataset, creating its own catalog of datasets and distributions. Phaidra is also involved in FAIRsphere Working Package 4, which deals with FAIR certification of repositories on a voluntary basis in Task 4.5, as one of the 6 certified pilot repositories already involved in FAIRsphere project. The expected outcome of the task is to develop assessment metrics for FAIR digital objects and a tool for the automatic assessment of data fairness. The assessment specification presents 17 metrics concerning, for example, unique and persistent identifiers, access conditions, data provenance, and context. Concurrently has been developed Fuji, an automated tool for the fairness assessment, which applies 15 up to 17 metrics. From a methodological point of view, the assessment process has consisted of following programmatic steps. A preliminary interview was taken by Fuji reference in order to gather a general knowledge about Phaidra context, concerning, for example, the content domain and designated community, dataset structure, metadata standards and retrieval, identification, and access restrictions. Then a first execution of Fuji tool has been run, followed by a detailed report on the assessment results, where each metric has been discussed and accompanied with specific recommendations. The process continues with subsequent iterations of step 2 in order to strengthen a mutual engagement focused on shared actions addressed both to the assessor, that is FAIRsphere, and to the assessee, that is Phaidra repository, and aim to enhance the repository data fairness. The depicted graphs show the assessment results, each bar representing the score gain for findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability areas of the FAIR data principles. As you can see, after the first improvement, consisting in the embedding of doubling core and typed links in HTML pages, the bars are moving to the right. But there's still room for improvements, mainly in the interoperability area, that could be possibly achieved by adding schema.org metadata and by the transition to a data model represented by RDF. So what did we learn so far? We learned that being involved in the first FAIR project has rewarded the repository with a direct and immediate improvement. In terms of its semantics and data and metadata fairness, for instance, enabling automatic import of metadata in reference management software and enhancing data discoverability by search engines. Furthermore, we had the chance to highlight the characterization of the cultural heritage repository, meant as a special research data repository, where a dataset corresponds to a cultural heritage object, accomplishing in this way the fairness improvement of a certified cultural heritage repository. Finally, we acknowledge the evidence that the quality and richness of data and metadata already present in Phaidra did not necessarily imply their machine-to-machine findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability. Repository certification and involvement in national and international projects have improved the repository functionalities and strengthened its trustfulness. These first 10 years of Phaidra adoption at the University of Padua has proved its sustainability as a platform driven by openness and built on a continuous collaborative effort in coevolution with the University of Vienna. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lorisa. Thank you, Luca, for your interesting talk, for your insight in this interesting work you do.